Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of Valpo Basketball Weekly. Brandon Vickery with you. Glad to be joined by the head coach of the Valpo men's basketball program, Matt Laddick, and this program is brought to you by our good friends at Lakeshore Bone and Joint Institute. Well, Coach, one strength of the roster is clearly the depth of the team. But with that comes the challenge of sorting out the minutes and the rotations. You've had different scorers, leading scorers almost every game. You've had different leading rebounders almost every game. Kind of where do things stand in the process of determining a rotation and determining minutes for this roster with all the depth you have?
Well, I think first and foremost, we want to establish, who we want to be taking a majority of our shots and where we want to get the balls to those guys. And I think, Donovan and Ben have been guys that have been, someone that we're trying to feature and, make a focal point. And, the issue has kind of been just, getting them the ball in the right spots. And I thought we did a better job of that last game at Central Michigan. And then, trying to kind of piecemeal and figure out the lineups that have been productive together. And I do think we're actually, making a lot of headway with that. And so this, like everyone's season, right, there's going to be just some learning curves just because of, just where we are and, some of the lack of practice time and things like that. So I am pleased with where our team's at. Obviously we've wanted to, kind of win some of those games. I mean, today at practice, we put 3 minutes up on the board, and we said, look, there's been 3 games, Vanderbilt, Purdue, and then now Central Michigan, where we have been right there with 3 minutes to go and just have not, executed well enough down the stretch to win a game. And so it's something we're working on. And but I do like our team, and I will tell you that they're made for this. It's not been an easy year, but they are made for it, and a competitive bunch that wants to get better.
Well, as you look back at the games this past week, I thought against SIUE, Sheldon Edwards really stood out. 2 rebounds away from a double-double, efficient shooting game, 20 points. He had a slower start to the season his first few games. What did you see from him in that game against SIUE?
Well, I thought he did a great job of letting the game come to him. I think his first basket was a fast break, and one layup, and then, he kind of got going from there. One of the problems with the issues with all freshmen, right, is typically they're coming from a situation where whichever shot they shot is going to be the best shot that their team can get. And that's just not, how it is at Valpo or Division I basketball anywhere. So, we've just got to we want him to be aggressive. We want him to be who he is. But at the same time, he's got to do it within the framework of what we're trying to do. And, so there's been some, harder conversations with, some of our freshmen, but, I think they're coming around.
Daniel Sackey played well in that game as well against SIUE, 8 assists and 4 steals. Mm-hmm. And then you saw him get in foul trouble and the impact that occurred in the first half at Central Michigan when he wasn't on the floor for that stretch. How important is Daniel to your team?
Well, I think he's, the leader of our defense. There's no doubt about it. We're pressuring the ball, and, he gets us going. And so from, that component, I mean, it's a huge loss when he's not on the floor. And, right now, we are turning the ball over a little bit more than I want. But Daniel's one of the bright spots. He's a high assist, low turnover guy. So, with him, it's the balance, right? He's able to blow by anyone. He's able to get into the lane. And, we want him to focus on being an 8 assist guy. You don't need to be an 18-point a game guy. And, so just kind of getting him in that mindset. And again, I think he'll get there.
In the game against Central Michigan, played well in the second half, but what do you have to do differently going forward to try to avoid digging those big holes?
Oh man, looking back on that game, we really, I thought initially like the zone had really stymied us, but in reality, I thought we got the shots that we wanted to get for the most part, right? There were, still some instances where I think we shot some quick ones trying to maybe, get some groove going. And, but the biggest thing that we didn't do well is we didn't execute our transition defense. And so, we were taking some shots that I thought were good shots. I know, Connor Barrett was 0 for 4, right, in that stretch, but he got good looks. But we weren't executing in transition. They got out. They got some easy baskets. They got feeling well. And it really took us to halftime to make that adjustment. So I got to do a better job as a coach of, putting our guys and telling them in that moment, what they need to do better. But I was proud of the fight. And, we were right there at the end. And can't give up those big runs, but I was proud of the fight back.
One of the real bright spots was the play of Donovan Clay, who bounced back in that game, 20 points. Really one of his best efforts I think we've seen from him, and certainly his best effort this season. What stood out to you about the way he played in that game?
Well, I thought Donovan, got back to being who he is, right? And one of the things that you go into, especially in an off season like we had, right, is a lot of players, you want to work on the things that you want to work on, right, and some of your weaknesses, and they should. And then, sometimes then you've got to get back to what are my strengths and focusing on that. And I thought Donovan did a great job of that. He got the ball in great positions, scored at a high rate around the rim and threw in a three. And, one of the conversations we've had with Donovan, right, is he is shooting 60% from two. In fact, I think we're 66th in the country right now in 2-point field goal percentage offense. And we're about 240th in 3-point percentage offense. And so, understanding what our strengths are as a team and focusing on that. And, we're doing it as a whole. But I thought Donovan did a good job of that in the game in Central Michigan.
There he is, the head coach of the Valpo men's basketball program, Matt Loddick. For all the latest in Valpo athletics and Valpo men's basketball, you can follow us on social media or check out valpoathletics.com. Until next week, we'll talk to you again then on Valpo Basketball Weekly.